Hello and welcome to my ITI 664 topic presentation. My name is Erin Field. A little bit about me: I received my bachelor's degree in biology from Pace University. From there, I continued on to receive my Master's of Science in Higher Education Administration. I worked in corporate education before wanting to pursue my professional goal of being back in the classroom. So I obtained my single subject teaching credential in the biological sciences. I also concurrently am earning my Master's of Education in Inspired Teaching, specifically focusing on English language learners. I am currently entering into my 5th year of teaching. I've taught environmental science for 4 years, and I am now currently teaching anatomy and physiology. So the purpose of my research topic is designed to introduce challenges that English learners face, or ELLs, in a general education high school science classroom, how the English language development, or the ELD framework, is connecting the California Common Core state standards with those of ELD standards, how to support ELLs by focusing on their effective expression, which is one of the key themes of the ELD framework. And the goal of my research topic is to determine best practices and strategies that teachers can utilize in order to develop their students' effective expression in a high school science classroom. The rationale behind my topic is that with 10% of today's public school enrollment being ELLs and its projected growth to 25% by 2025 and then 40% by 2030, we must develop ways to better support these students. If you look at this graph created by the National Assessment of Educational Progress Science Achievement Levels, it shows that the percentages of 12th grade students in 2015 are performing at or above basic, which is 60%, right in this range, and at or above proficient at 22%. And then you'll also notice that below basic has also stayed the same. So there is no measurable difference from the corresponding percentages from 2009 to 2015. So it looks like everybody is remaining stagnant, and I really want these numbers to grow and the at or above basic to increase, and then the at or above proficient to increase. So my research question is, what strategies can be utilized in order for English language learners to develop their effective expression of scientific academic language within a high school setting? So I'm going to take a couple different approaches. So in order to do so, qualitative data will be collected as straightforward thematic analysis can be completed. ELLs will participate in meaningful learning experiences through the use of the UDL framework. And in order to monitor ELL's academic progress, the researcher will record notes on the individual ELLs and utilize surveys, while the ELLs complete questionnaires about best strategies used in the classroom. One-on-one interviews will also be conducted with ELLs since they are the primary focus of this research. So some of the resources that I used in order to create my literature review, that's where you'll find the majority of my resources. And within that literature review, it's comprised of 5 different sections: educational statistics, student background, educational standards, educational programs, and English language learner strategies. And within those sections, you'll see sources from federal and state government websites, organizational websites, district websites, specifically the LA Unified School District, the National Center for Educational Statistics, and scholarly articles found through the NU Library website. So my critical friend experience in ITI 660 was that they reviewed my bibliography and then my infographic. They also reviewed my chapter 1. In ITI 662, they reviewed my chapters 2 and 3 of my inquiry. And my experience with the NU Library was that I utilized it to find texts and articles to support my literature review. So in regards to my methodology, data collection will occur in a 12th grade environmental science classroom using a sample of 6 ELLs. As seen in the timeline, one of the strategies being utilized to help ELLs develop their effective expression is to create a positive, inclusive classroom over the course of the entire semester. So during week 1, students will be introduced to their unit project by reviewing the unit plan and key vocabulary. This vocabulary will exist visually in the classroom by use of a word wall. In order to collect evidence regarding written expression, a writing activity will be assigned as a portion of the unit project. Students will be shown exemplars as the expectations of the assignment through the use of a rubric. The last portion of week 1 is having students brainstorm their thoughts through graphic organizers, outlines, or any means that best supports their specific learning style. And then throughout week 1, I will also be recording my observations as well as collecting their brainstorm activity. During week 2, students will be completing their writing activity and will participate in peer review writing stations. During this time, I will continue to record observations by listening in on students' conversations. As a part of the learning process, I will reteach or review any misconceptions about the writing process that I noticed while grading the essays and while listening in on the conversations. And then lastly, in week 2, I will collect students' questionnaires on which portion of the writing process they felt best supported their needs. Week 3 will include students being assigned a verbal expression activity that aligns to the unit project. So not only am I going to have a writing portion, but I also want them to develop their effective expression verbally. As their teacher, I will model what purposeful expression sounds like and its importance as they transition to college and then future careers. Students will then participate in small group discussions by sharing topics of their interest. That way they can get practice in speaking about things that they are interested in. And then lastly, in week 3, students will practice speaking in small groups about their unit project topic. So I'm going from their interest and things that they're comfortable about speaking about to more academic language by the end of week 3. In regards to week 4, students will present their unit project topic in a whole group discussion and receive feedback from peers and myself, the teacher. This goes back to establishing that supportive environment in week 1 and having students feel confident about sharing from a small group to an all-class discussion. In order to collect data here, students will complete a questionnaire on which portion of the verbal expression process they felt best supported their needs. So I'm going to do that in the writing section as well as the verbal, and then see if their answers correlate to each other and if there's consistency or if they favor one strategy in writing and then another strategy in speaking. Lastly, I will conduct one-on-one interviews with ELLs to review the strategies they best felt fit their learning style and then what modifications can be made to the assignment to better improve their learning. So in regards to if I could travel back in time, what kind of advice would I give myself in terms of research strategies for curating time management and organization? One of the things I would do is I would bookmark everything. I found myself going back to my bibliography or my literature review and highlighting the links and reinserting them instead of just bookmarking it and then having it as a tab or a favorite and then just clicking on it throughout my research. And then something else that I just started utilizing was the NU Writing Center. And if I could go back in time, I would utilize it more often and in smaller components and utilize it for chapter 1 and then 2 and then 3. So that's something that I'm working on right now. And then what are my plans for my future after completing my master's degree? Something that I've always wanted to do is to continue on and get my PhD, as well as teach at the high school and the college level. As I continue on to Chapter 4, and I examine the analysis of the existing literature review, as mentioned previously in the presentation, the most outstanding research curated was that students demonstrated stagnant growth in the sciences between 2009 and 2015. This shows that what has worked in the past is currently not working, nor benefiting our students, specifically our ELL population. This information should serve as a call to action to improve our educational complacency and low expectations of students. It should serve as a reminder that teachers must be willing to improve their own practices in order to best support the needs of all learners. With roughly 4.8 million students classified as ELLs across the U.S., California has a heavily concentrated population of 1.1 million ELLs. In addition, 60% of these students are also classified as low income. This is not only an educational issue, but also a social justice issue. In order to better serve our low-income communities, a Title I funded school was chosen as a way to curate this research. The findings of this research will shape my teaching practice and how I can best support my ELLs. As seen in Chapter 3, there are multiple approaches that I will take in order to serve my students. I've included creating a positive learning environment, scaffolding assignments, providing meaningful and timely feedback from myself and their peers, giving them students the opportunities to discuss with classmates in small groups and whole class, and building their confidence in a subject matter that they may find difficult. The most beneficial item to shape my teaching practice will be the surveys and one-on-one meetings I will complete with my students. This will allow me to collect in-the-moment feedback from my students so I can better develop differentiated strategies to improve specifically their effective expression in writing, reading, and verbal. In addition, this will also allow me to develop the other key themes of the ELD framework: meaning making, language development, content knowledge, and foundational skills. In order to further develop this research, I will also create an inquiry around: do the same strategies mentioned above also best serve ELLs when focusing on other key themes, so one of the other 4 listed? In addition, does one level of proficiency benefit from a specific strategy, or do the strategies best serve all proficiency levels? Further implications will include implementing these best practices across other disciplines and grade levels and sharing my findings with other stakeholders. I want to include other teachers in my research process and have us create a school-wide inquiry. This study has provided more data to suggest that ELLs need differentiated strategies to support their English language proficiency. Lastly, in summary, this researcher wants to determine best practices, strategies in developing ELL's effective expression within a 12th grade environmental science classroom. And with the outcome of this inquiry, can this same strategy be utilized in other grade levels and contents? And lastly, is there larger growth within a student's written or verbal expression? This is my research proposal, my chapters 1 through 4. Thank you.